read-only memory. The previous chapter we have discussed the random access memory. So in this chapter we discuss read-only memory. And as we said, the read-only memory is where you store the permanent data that is required for the computing system or the computer to run or to start. So that is very unique. Like we will see how different they are. But we said that RAM allows the computer to process the data or run the current instructions, and the data are run on RAM. But the ROM stores the startup data so that when the computer starts, it knows where to look for the most important data for it to run until it is able to reach a stage where it can receive instructions from the user. So the memory from which we can only read but cannot write on is the one that is referred to as the ROM, or read-only memory. This type of memory is non-volatile, and as I think I have explained over and over again, non-volatile means that even when you lose power, you do not lose the data that is stored in there. So the information is stored permanently in such memories during the manufacture. So think about a laptop. Before you install the operating system, what we call the operating system, there is something called BIOS, and I have explained it, I have mentioned it here. The BIOS is stored in ROM. It is now the BIOS that tells the operating system where to start components or devices are running that computer, etc. Again, think about a calculator. We said a calculator is also kind of a computer, and when the computer starts, it always knows when you put at times what operation you require to do. When you put a plus, is what operations you are going to be performing. And therefore, this kind of instructions that tell a calculator what most of these basic elements mean, these are stored in ROM. Also think about a washing machine. Washing machine runs, so it has data that is stored in RAM. It knows when you turn on the knob for washing, it knows exactly what that means. Even if you switch off that washing machine and switch it back on, it will still know what this button means. That kind of instruction that is stored for what these buttons are being at that point, or being at this other point, which one is for washing, one is for rinsing, and the other one is for drying. Those instructions are stored in a location that is called ROM. And we are saying that a ROM stores such instructions that are required to start a computer. So I think that I have explained. And that operation is called bootstrap. ROM chips are not only used in the computer, but are also used in other electronic items like washing machines, like microwaves, etc. So I think I have explained that point quite in sufficiency, so that you do not get lost when you hear ROM and RAM. So this is an example of RAM. This is just a chip that allows you to store some not very huge data, but again allows you to store some information and instructions that are going to be permanently stored there for the computing device to run. So there are a number of types of ROMs that you can find in the market. To discuss very briefly is what is called masked ROM or M-ROM. This is a very fast ROMs that were hardwired, that contained pre-programmed set of data or instructions. These kind of ROMs are also called masked ROMs, which are very most of the times inexpensive. So we talk about hardwired. It's just like you are programming it, but by hardwiring. The simplest of all is think of a switch that you turns on or off your lights. So when you turn it on, it turns the lights on. When you turn it off, the lights go out. This, if it were considered to be a type of a computer, it is definitely hardwired. It knows when these connections are disconnected, it means the lights will go on. When they are connected the other way, the lights will go off. So that kind of simplest version of ROM, you can hardwire instructions that will allow the computing device to know exactly what instructions to run when that device starts. So the other kind of ROM is called programmable read-only memory, and this is also a read-only memory, but can be modified once by a user. So the user buys a blank ROM and enters the desired contents using the PROM program. Then inside the chip, there are some features which are going to be burnt open during the programming, and therefore it is only programmed once and not reusable. So that is the major difference between this kind of ROM. Assume you have a radio that the IC has burnt. So you take this device to the technician. He removes this IC, replaces it with a new one. But because that new one may not have been programmed, the functionality of that radio, then he might program it once, and therefore once he has programmed it once, that is what I'm calling it a one-time program by the user, and therefore that will allow the chip or the IC to function as the one that was removed. So that is the idea. Once programmable, it's called programmable read-only memory. Then there is another one that is called EPROM, erasable and programmable read-only memory. This method of memory can be erased by exposing it to a UV light, or what is called ultraviolet light, for a certain duration. Then this EPROM eraser achieves this function. You delete what was stored there, and then you write a new program. So this is just another kind of ROM that you can erase and then reprogram. Not very many times you can do that, but it has some. It can retain the charge for up 10 years, but you cannot do it very many times. I know there is a limit on which the number of times you can reprogram this kind of ROM. The last one I want to discuss is called electrically erasable and programmable read-only memory. This is programmed and erased electrically. It can be erased and reprogrammed about 10,000 times. So this one is very many times. You ordinarily will not require you to reprogram this number of times. Here we are not using AC, we are just using electrical power to reprogram or to give this one instructions. So this one allows you to delete certain section of the ROM and add some new instructions. So the difference between the EPROM and EPROM, one has one single E, the other one has double E, is that you can here you can only delete the entire chip, whereas for the EPROM you can just delete only a single portion or one cell of the ROM. The advantages of ROM in comparison to the other kinds of memory is that it is non-volatile in nature. That means even when you lose power, you are still going to have the data that you have stored. It cannot be accidentally changed. Most of the times you require specific tools for reprogramming. It is much cheaper than RAM. It is easy to test and more reliable than RAM. Static and does not require refreshing. Not comparable to the one that we say that require keep on refreshing it, applying it with more power, but the capacitors can recharge. The contents are always known and therefore can be verified.